What's going on? I want to welcome you guys out to the first ever Wedding Swap podcast. My name is Ed Gruby from Events Done Right. We're also joined here today by Courtney Mason with Mason and Magnolia Events. And also we have Johnny Torres with LiveWedding.net. What's going on, guys?
Hey. Pretty excited.
So this is the first time ever. Good. This is the first time ever we're doing this here. Basically, the whole thought behind this podcast is going to be just trying to connect with our couples in our wedding community. Obviously, Courtney has built this amazing group on Facebook, Tampa Wedding Swap, that has, I believe, over 30,000 people in it now, right, Courtney?
Yes, it does.
So
between all of the social media,
I believe
there's a lot of followers.
Yeah, so over 30,000 people are in that group. We constantly see questions every single day about, where can I get a dress, or what's a really cool rustic barn venue that I could do my wedding at. Anybody know somebody that could stream my wedding video or my wedding ceremony live? Hint, hint, Johnny Torres. So we do see lots of questions there. So that's basically why we decided to start up this podcast, was kind of just to get in touch with our community. We're going to allow you guys to comment any questions that you guys may have. One of the three of us might be able to answer it, or, we'll be having guests on throughout doing this podcast. So kind of just another way to interact and communicate with each and every one of you guys and girls out there.
Well, thanks, Ed. I'm really excited about this project. Things have changed, not only because of what we're dealing with in regards to coronavirus, but even the industry is constantly changing. And, one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast, and one of the reasons that I started my business, LiveWeddings.net, earlier this year, was because we have such affordable technology available to us that can, bring that special day to someone in a whole new way. And, again, what started off as, just like a small group for, just some research for Courtney, has turned into, her own business. And, we are all, big fans of this business. Ed, I'll let you, maybe give your background, but personally, I actually, in full disclosure, I'm one of Ed's DJs as well for Events Done Right. And I've been in the wedding industry now for about 17 years as a wedding DJ and MC. But my day job was marketing and advertising. And from that background, I decided to spin off LiveWeddings.net, which is a live streaming service for wedding ceremonies and receptions. Ed, if you want to go into your background, and then, of course, I'm sure all the fans of the Tampa Wedding Swap would love to hear about how Courtney got to where we are today.
Sure, yeah, and I do have to apologize to everybody. This is our first time doing this, so if there is any kind of delays, that we're trying to work out all the kinks here and everything like that, so there might be a little delay when we're trying to talk back and forth, so we do apologize. We'll get all that worked out. So yeah, I have been in this area for a long time now. I actually started here in the Tampa Bay area on the radio on Wild 94.1, aka Wild 98.7, way back in the day. I was known as Special Ed on the radio. I was part of the morning show with Orlando the Freak Show, and kind of did my own thing as well too. And back in 2010, I want to say it was, started doing some weddings on the side, some private parties. Me and one other guy, Keith Day, he's kind of my partner in a sense with our company. The two of us kind of just went out and did, parties. Now at the time, he had the equipment and I had the microphone skills. So we kind of relied on each other's talents to get us through the first couple of gigs. Had no clue what we were doing in the beginning. It's just one of those things where you're just going out, you're thinking, oh yeah, we could do it, and our business started growing. I'll be 100% off. We started getting lots of referrals and recommendations from couples, from people that were attending these weddings, from other vendors. It just kind of, has grown into this full-fledged company where now here we are 10 years later. It's myself. We have 9 other DJs on staff, including Johnny, like we were saying before. The biggest thing is it's crazy. We have a photo booth service now. We provide trivia and karaoke and bingo throughout the week to different bars and restaurants. So which kind of just started as just this little thing on the side to make some extra money, has grown into this full-fledged business and has allowed me to sit here today with Courtney and Johnny. So it's a treasure. And I'm going to give it to Courtney right now. Her group alone has helped grow my business tremendously, and I can't thank you enough, Courtney. Just to let you know, I'm being honest with you. As a vendor myself, just the way that you kind of built the group, and I love the way that you kind of keep everything intact in there. You don't let vendors run wild, which is important, because I will tell you right now, if I was somebody that was getting married, which I've been married for 16 years this past March, so congratulations to me. We had to celebrate in isolation, but hey, it doesn't matter, right? Thank you. Yeah. So if I was going on there and get married, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't want to be bombarded by 300 different vendors kind of offering their services. I would kind of want to hear what other couples have had to say. And I love the fact that you've kind of streamlined that over the past, I would say, year or so, and just allowing couples to go in there and interact with one another as opposed to being pitched. So I think the big star here in this whole thing is the one and only Courtney Mason. So Courtney, give us a little background on how this whole thing, I just from Tampa Wedding Swap getting started to how you started out Mason and Magnolia events, and just a little bit of your background as well.
All right. Well, I started Tampa Wedding Swap basically as one of those clueless brides out there. I had no clue about weddings. I didn't know what a charger was. What else? I was a waitress. I needed a used dress and somebody's leftover decorations. And it was whenever all the yard sale sites started, I was looking for something. They didn't have anything. So I just, Tampa Wedding Swap, and started sharing it. And it just grew and grew and grew. And I try to keep it true to brides because I was that bride. It wasn't until last year that I started Mason and Magnolia events, maybe a little over a year ago. And I started volunteering at the wedding venue that we got married at, which was Bell Group.
Awesome. And that's kind of how you kind of just run with it from there too, is just your being a bride yourself and just learning the ins and outs of things you should be looking for and learning. And obviously building this group is probably giving you a pretty good idea of vendors. I mean, there's a lot of very good quality vendors that do a great job in your group. From DJ services to photographers to videographers.
I have also heard a lot of horror stories as well.
That's right. So that's the other point of this podcast too, is kind of just to listen. Everybody does things differently. That's the best way I can say it. I'm not here to shed a negative light on any particular service or anything like that. People do stuff differently. I will say though, it's important as a vendor, whatever you do, whether you're baking a cake or whether you're hosting the actual ceremony, it's important to give a quality service to these couples. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons we're here as well too, is, every time we do this, I think the thought process is we would love to have a different vendor on that we can showcase and what they bring to the table. So you get a little bit of background on them and get to know what they bring to the table, but also at the same time, feel comfortable with who you're selecting. Obviously, my company is not the only DJ company here. There's hundreds of DJ companies. Johnny, with his liveweddings.net, he's not the only one that does, live video streams of ceremonies. Courtney, there's tons of, planning services out there. So we're not just here to pigeonhole ourselves and say, we're the only go-to route. There's lots of great DJs in this area and DJ companies. So that's kind of the other thought process is kind of just giving you guys an idea of, maybe who you should kind of wiggle in your way down your path of selecting vendors and who would be the best fit for what you guys are looking for. Because, hey, let's be honest with one another. Everybody looks for something different, Johnny, I think you could attest with me on this, that especially when it comes to a DJ service, there might be a certain style you're looking for your wedding ceremony. Even Courtney with planning and design, there might be somebody that approaches you and is like, hey, this is what I'm thinking for my wedding. You're like, yeah, I don't know if that's down my road. So, the biggest thing I think that's hitting our community right now as a total, and I'd love to get into it with you guys and just get your thoughts on it. And Courtney, we'll start with you first. Is obviously the coronavirus, aka COVID-19. And I will say before I pass the baton here to Courtney for her to discuss a little bit about how she's been dealing with the group and everything like that. I just want to make sure that everybody understands here. I'll speak for the three of us when I say we're not experts in this. There's not one expert you can possibly find in this. That's in our community. This is unprecedented times that we're all going through together. And hopefully it's something we never have to go through again. But Courtney, I'll let you discuss a little bit about how coronavirus has affected the group, or what you're seeing as far as different brides posting and questions. So go ahead whenever you're ready.
Well, at first it started wreaking havoc through the group. That's how it started, just havoc between vendors and brides, and just the not knowing, should I cancel, should I not cancel? It's been very scary for everybody, small businesses, brides. It's a lot of money floating around, and everybody's just unsure. There is no definite anything. So it's been kind of scary. I've been trying to limit the COVID-19 posts going through out of respect to brides, out of respect to vendors. I don't want anybody getting there clashing and fighting, brides versus vendors, which has happened, and we had to remove some people and delete some posts. And unfortunately, it's scary for everybody.
Yeah, I would think the biggest thing is, and I'll speak for the three of us, and I'll speak for a majority of the vendors, and I hope they're agreeing with me in this one. I think the biggest thing is that, with what we're going through right now, some of you guys have been planning this for over a year. You've been planning that special day. Nobody could ever see something like this happening. And I would say the biggest thing is try as best as you can to just stay patient and calm. I know it's different on my end, because you'll be like, oh, you have no clue. I've been planning this day. I had my special day planned for 2.5 years and this and that. I completely, believe me, we do this for a living. I completely understand and get where you're coming from. I would just say, just try and stay patient. You're not in this boat alone. There's thousands and thousands of brides across the country that are dealing with this as well. And the biggest thing is, I would say, is pushing for a postponement rather than a cancellation. Don't let this quote unquote rain on your wedding day. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Look at it as a bump in the road, not necessarily as, something that should be stopping you from what you want to do. I know something I've spoken with a couple of couples that we had on our calendar for dates that we were supposed to provide the DJ service for. One of the things that I was pushing for, just suggesting is, hey, look, if there's a way that you can find a way to actually do your ceremony, maybe possibly, if you had this date stuck in your mind for 2020 and it was like, this is the date you had to do, try and find a workaround somehow to get married. If there's a way, I believe I saw one of our vendors on there the other day saying there is a way to get around it and possibly, get married, get your actual marriage license and stuff like that. Maybe a year from now, push that party back. Again, it's not the most ideal situation in the world, or, what you had on your calendar, your plans and everything like that. But again, this is something that nobody planned for. Johnny, would you agree with me on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think given the conditions that we're all going through, because there's no one that's untouched by this, is, flexibility and patience. I know that vendors are trying to be as flexible as possible. Inevitably, there's going to be conflicts because, again, people have already booked a year out. Some people are already anticipating when this is going to let up and want to book right away. But it's all speculative. And I think communication is the key. Remaining cool-headed is the key. There's no need for people to get into lawsuits over refunds and things like that. I think right now, just kind of keeping communication with your vendors. Make sure that they're still going to be around after this, because there are going to be vendors who aren't going to make it through this, and kind of control what you can control. And right now, the one thing we cannot control is when things are going to get back to normal. And so start looking at 6 months from now, or maybe start looking at 12 months from now, because that's probably most realistic. And it's also going to allow for more flexibility between you and your vendor. Because, again, I think if you get into cancellations and then arguing over refunds and things like that, that's where, again, so these relationships are broken, and it's just a bad environment for everybody involved.
Yeah, and you really hit it on the head with one of the things that you had mentioned with us being vendors. That's something too, and I'll just speak firsthand on this. There's, there's a couple of different ways you could look at it from a vendor standpoint, just for our couples out there. There are some people that just do this strictly as a hobby. This is just strictly a side time thing. They do an amazing, great job. I'm not saying anything differently than, if you do it full time or part time. They have a full time job during the week. Maybe they'll go out. Maybe it's a photographer, right? And they go out and shoot the weddings, and they capture great shots and everything like that. But maybe they're still able to go to their their full time job during the week. On the flip side, too, this is something I do full time now. I still do the radio part time, but this is something I personally do full time. And how much it's affected, I'll just say personally, my company, is everything's been wiped off the books. It was last weekend alone that I believe we had 8 weddings through the whole weekend just came off the books. And this is how, we're providing food and everything like that for my own family. So I 100,000,000% understand where our couples are coming from when I say that. It hurts, I'm sure it's very upsetting to you guys and the stress and everything you're having to go through. But on the flip side, the vendors who do this full time, it's I want to say it's almost equally as stressful. This is a time where, I'm looking to see when the next thing is going to pop up on our calendar. When are we going to be able to go out there and rock another wedding for somebody again? When is that going to happen? So we're kind of in the same boat as you, not necessarily as far as your day is as special as, that's something nobody can take away from you. Your day is unique, is going to be one of a kind. But I would say as far as the planning goes, yes, it's just as stressful on the vendor's end as well. Courtney, is this something that you have seen in the group as far as maybe comments about any kind of creativity or patience? Have you seen any kind of good advice yet or any other suggestions kind of similar to what Johnny was discussing?
There's a lot of advice flowing around. I see a lot of people doing like small, less than 10 people ceremonies with Efficient, having a photographer take photos, and then maybe redoing their date on a later date. I had a bride myself actually do that. She got married, just her and her husband and the Efficient, and they rescheduled later on down the year. Everybody seems to be stuck in like a limbo. And
well, let me to Courtney's point right there. Let me kind of say this because while what you said to open up the topic was right, Ed, none of us are experts in what's happening right now with COVID and coronavirus. But the one thing we do know is this industry. I mean, and what I can probably guarantee you is that whatever plans you've made so far are going to look different by the time you reschedule everything. Because this is something that isn't going away anytime soon. Again, even if you're talking 6 months out, a year out, this is going to affect the way everything is done going forward. And even 6 months out, maybe even a year out, there are still going to be issues when it comes to travel. There are still going to be issues when it comes to people not being able to attend. This is going
restrictions.
Oh, absolutely. There's going to be all kinds of levels of restrictions nationally, internationally. And so that's why I get back to, being flexible and being patient. And it may be a good time to revisit your plan, revisit your budget, because you may end up having a smaller wedding because of this. Because, again, travel restrictions are still going to probably be an issue to an extent. And then there's going to be a lingering health concern for a lot of people. There's going to be this fear, much like there was after 9/11, of travel for fear of catching this virus if there is still remnants of it out there, especially if you're traveling by plane, traveling on a cruise. Those are going to be big obstacles to overcome. And again, I had 2 clients who were doing destination weddings this summer, and both of them had to cancel. Tentatively, they're rescheduled for next year, but I can assure you that they're going to have to make adjustments to the overall plans because it's not going to be the same wedding a year from now that they had in mind.
Yeah. No, those are some great points, Johnny. And the thing is, too, I think it's one of those things where you kind of just have to take a step back, take a deep breath as best as you can. And I would just say kind of rethink your whole strategy here moving forward. I will tell you this, that, again, because this is something none of us have ever had to deal with before. You have lots of couples that have already booked for 2021, prior to this whole coronavirus situation. So if you're anywhere in your mind thinking, hey, I want to reschedule for 2021, just something. And again, I'm just trying to put this little seed in your head. Think about this. You're also dealing with couples who have already booked for 2021. So at this point, what I'm saying is it might be a good idea to kind of relax. Remember, you're not alone in this. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing any of us can do. Just take a deep breath, step back, and replan. Get all your vendors on board. Find a date that works best for all your vendors moving forward. But you do want to kind of act, in some manner, because the fact is, like I said, you already have couples on board for next year. So you're fighting now with other dates. So that would be the one thing I would tell you is that, to start rethinking how you want to do it, if you're going to do it at all. You know what I mean? But yeah, those are some great points by both of you. We're going to wrap things up here. This is our first episode ever. So again, I know there's a little bit of a delay, so we do apologize about that. We'll work through the kinks. Nothing's perfect. Kind of like the first time I ever did a wedding. Oh Lord, if I ever told you some of the stories, you guys. Nothing is ever perfect, but you live and learn as you go. All right. That's exactly what we're going to be doing here too. Also, any vendors, obviously we're all in quarantine right now. But moving forward, we would love to start featuring vendors too, DJs, videographers, florists, venues themselves, anybody that would like to get on with us. Love to kind of just highlight your business and see what you guys have to say about everything. And you can definitely message us through here. You can put in your comment section, whatever you want to do. If you have any questions too, if you're a couple out there and you kind of heard some of the things we had to say and you have questions, maybe you're seeing this tomorrow or maybe you're seeing this next week, shoot the comment in there, shoot a question, shoot a message to us, and we'd love to try and help you out. And maybe it's something we can answer on a future podcast as well. And before we go, though, I do have to ask, Courtney, you're up first. What is, and I'm throwing them a curveball here because we're all stuck in quarantine right now. What is your go-to quarantine snack, Courtney?
Oh, goodness. I've been baking muffins. I've been baking everything.
Well, send some on over here. Johnny, what's yours?
For me, it's got to be ice cream. Lots of ice cream. So thankfully, it's not like a hurricane where we lose power because then I'd really be up the ladder. Yeah, probably way too much ice cream.
Oh my God. My Oreo cookies, I think, are just talking to me every time I open up my refrigerator. It's like I go to look for like something healthy, like maybe a piece of chicken or something. I know my Oreos are whispering to me like, "Man, we're over here."
Well, Ed, before we wrap up the show, I just wanted to kind of expand on what you were just saying, which is, again, we want to make this really about the industry, an industry that we love, an industry that we're very passionate about and have a lot of fun with. And by no means are we looking to exclude anyone. So if you'd like to be on the program, reach out to us either through Facebook or through the email address that we've been posting throughout the show. And then also we're going to be posting a copy of this podcast on the YouTube channel. So look for the Wedding Swap podcast on YouTube as well. This episode will be up later today. And then Courtney, as you know, already has an amazing presence on Facebook. So she's going to be posting it in all the groups. But you can help us out by sharing it with brides and other people in the industry so we can really create this community for an industry that we love. And I think we're all going to come out stronger for it after this quarantine.
Cool. Courtney, you got anything else before we wrap up here?
No, I'm just excited to go ahead and start this podcast and do something in quarantine.
There you go. Gives us something else to do. Well, again, we want to thank you for watching our first episode ever. We hope you enjoyed it. Again, any questions, whether you're a vendor or if you're a couple that's, just in need of anything whatsoever, please shoot us a message. Leave us a comment. We'd love to help you out. We, again, thank you for watching the Wedding Swap podcast. And until next time, hopefully I'm not more, I don't hear your sideburns from not having a barber. By the way, I'm going to tell you, it's one of the things you don't think about in quarantine is not having access to a barber. Right? Like everybody's talking about toilet paper and hand sanitizer. I want to know if somebody could come over here and cut my hair. That's what I need. My hair is as long as it's never been.
You and me both.
Once again,
my husband just shaves his head.
Oh, see, I need to get on your husband's page. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Thank you again for watching the Wedding Swap podcast. Until next time, thanks and have a great day.